no longer on the Housewives of Atlanta. What was the biggest lesson that reality television has taught you? Most people, when they see people on reality television, they kind of negate everything that happened in their life before. I'm like, y'all know who y'all talking to? Like, y'all better put some respect on her name. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
You were the fastest quarter miler in the world. You were slated to win the gold, so much so that they had your name on the medal.
They said it was the biggest upset of the Olympics. Like, it was the most unpredictable loss.
There was a backstory behind that 2008 Olympics.
It was a secret I kept for a very long time. For your viewers who may not know the story, that is still a hard story for me to tell.
Welcome to Vault Empowers Talks, where we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential change makers. I'm your host, Brandy Harvey, but before I introduce my guest for today, I need you to go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss your daily dose of inspiration and motivation. But without further ado, I get to sit down and talk to this world-renowned woman sitting across from me. Sanya Richards-Ross is the fastest American woman in history at 400 meters and the winner of 4 Olympic gold medals. Off the track, Richards-Ross is in her 7th season as an NBC sports analyst. She is one of the longest-standing Nike brand ambassadors, with her partnership spanning 19 years. Most recently, she has served as a co-star on the reality show, The Real Housewives of Atlanta. As the author of 2 books, Run With Me and Chasing Grace, What the Quarter Mile Has Taught Me About God and Life, Sanya takes readers down a spiritual journey of self-discovery of life both on and off the track. Sanya is the founder of Mommy Nation, a multimedia and virtual community that supports Black moms in every way. As a clothing collaborator with Shein, Shop Coordinates, and Team USA, Sanya masterfully splits her time between family and her business ventures. Sanya has firmly solidified her place in sports history, and as a cultural icon, Sanya believes life is nothing more than a collection of photo finishes shot through the lens of God's camera. Vault Empowers Talks welcome 4-time Olympic gold medalist, media personality, history maker, world record breaker, author, humanitarian wife, mother, Sanya Richards-Ross to the show. Let's go.
Can I take you with me everywhere? I need that introduction. I'm going on the plane. Thank you so much, Brandy. That was so good. I really appreciate that.
It is a pleasure for you to be here.
Thank you.
I feel like, I love talking to you athletes because regretfully, I was not an athlete.
And you look like you could have or should have been.
Should have been.
Yeah.
You know, when they say the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Baby, I'm a woulda, coulda, shoulda because I've watched your career.
Thank you.
And I am so honored to sit across from you because the hard work, the dedication, the perseverance, and the sacrifice that it takes to be you. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to this conversation.
I mean, let me tell you, your mom is here, and you were born and raised in Jamaica and moved to Florida, where you really solidified your track and field career.
Yeah.
But there was something that stood out when I read your book, and I was like, whoa. Your mother became a U.S. citizen for you to run for Team USA.
Yeah. Speaks volumes to who she is, who she still is in my life, and all the sacrifices both her and my dad made for me to be great.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask, like, why did you run for the U.S.? You know, because obviously I'm Jamaican born, and Jamaica has tremendous history in track and field. And people think it's going to be this big, profound, answer or something. And it really was. When we migrated when I was 12, I was in the States for 4 years competing at Florida and competing in the Junior Olympics. And when I was 16, I got invited to join the World Junior team. And I remember being so excited to join. I go down and the lady's like, we just need your passport. I'm like, Mom, they just need my passport. She's like, you ain't got no American passport.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And it was my first time realizing, like, I want to compete with Team USA mainly because of my friendships.
Yeah.
At that point, I had developed so many friends, and the country at that point, had been there for 4 years. That felt like a lifetime to me as a child. And so my mom decided that she wanted to make me happy, that she wanted me to compete for the country that I felt most at home at that time.
Yeah.
And so she went through the rigors of, getting her U.S. citizenship. And because we were young enough, my sister and I also became citizens. And that's how my journey began, competing for Team USA.
Yeah. And it did not go over well when you went into certain spaces because, Jamaicans are known for running.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sport where usually when you look at these races around the world, Jamaica and America are going, USA are going head and head, neck and neck.
Yeah, and ironically, you wouldn't believe this, Brandy, but my very first competition, my first World Junior Championships were in Jamaica.
Wow.
It hasn't happened since, hasn't happened after. And it was really ironic because the place that I got my start, the place where I fell in love with track was the same track I would go back to for my first major competition. And, at the time at 16, when I was out there on the track and the fans were booing me and, it was really difficult. And I see it now as love, because they were booing because they wanted me to be competing for Jamaica.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was really hard. It was really hard to feel like I had let people down and that they were disappointed. And like I said, the reason I really wanted to was very jovial and very light. It wasn't something, in any way that was meant to be hurtful to anyone. So it was a tough part of my journey starting off. But it certainly built a lot of character for me and taught me a lot of appreciation for what I did. And I think was the foundation for what I went on to go on to do in the sport. So.
Talk about what you went on to do because, and I told you before we started the interview that I really wanted to bring light to what you've done in the sport of track and field. Because most people, when they see people on reality television, they kind of negate everything that happened in their life before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all know who y'all talking to? Like, y'all better put some respect on her name. You know what I'm saying?
That part, yeah.
Like, somebody better call Birdman, like, what's up? Like, put some respect on your name because to work as hard as you had to work to get to be an elite athlete. Yeah. I mean, and at one point in your career, you were the fastest quarter miler in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a couple points in my career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And I think when you're in it too, it's hard for you also to understand all that you're doing because you're just doing it because you love it,
Yeah.
But now when I look back on that time in my life and I realized the level of dedication and commitment and the people around me that invested in me, it just blows my mind. I competed for Team USA for 13 years. And most athletes may go to one Olympics if they're lucky. And I was able to compete in 3 Olympics for Team USA. And in every one of those Olympics, I won a gold medal with Team USA as a part of the 4x4 relay. In 2008, I won the bronze in the 400. And then in 2012, got to come back and finally win that individual 400. And it's not lost on me anymore, and I don't take for granted just how hard of a task and a feat that is. I remember I was at an event, and the gentleman was talking about, like, I guess he was comparing, like, a full stadium, like an NFL stadium, 90,000 people, and that one person, one person in that number would be an Olympian, not an Olympic gold medalist, an Olympian. And so, I don't walk around with that because there's a humility that I've always had instilled in me through my family, but it's a big deal. Yeah. And I appreciate all the work.
Listen, she ain't gonna talk that talk, but I'm gonna talk it for her. That's why I'm here today. Okay. Because talk about what you had to do and how hard you had to work. 2008, Beijing. Yeah. I remember watching this race on television. You were slated to win the gold so much so that they had your name on the medal. Yeah. And then, but people don't know that there was a backstory behind that 2008 Olympics. Yeah. There was a lot of the amount of pressure that you must have felt going into that Olympics.
Yeah. And it's funny because it still brings up a ton of emotion for me because at the time, not a lot of people knew. There were just my family that really knew the full story of everything that was happening behind the scenes in 2008. And until I actually wrote the book and really shared the truth, it was a secret I kept for a very long time.
And you prayed about that. You said you fasted to see if I was going to be ready to tell that to the world.
Yeah, it was really hard. But I thought it was an important story to tell because I think that especially as a female athlete, especially as young women who aspire to do great things, it's something that other women might face. And I wanted them to feel like they weren't alone and that there is healing on the other side of it. So for your viewers who may not know the story, that is still a hard story for me to tell. In 2008, I was favored to win gold in the women's 400. I had been undefeated all season. And a season in track and field for us is about 15 or 16 races. I was dominant. And simultaneously, at the same time, I had been with my husband for about 5 years. At the time, we were engaged. I wasn't married to him yet, but we were college sweethearts. I'd been together for a really long time. And right before I was leaving for Beijing, I found out I was pregnant. And even that in and of itself was really difficult because as a young athlete, we used to always hear, like, when you're at your fittest and at your prime, you can't get pregnant. You don't have enough body fat. All of these misconceptions that you have. And so I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I was pregnant. Since I was 9 years old, I had dreamt of being an Olympic gold medalist. It was the desire of my heart and my life for a really long time. And I wasn't ready to be a mom.
Yeah.
That just wasn't, I wanted to be a mom eventually, but I didn't want to be a mom in 2008. And so you talk about your faith being challenged.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a Christian woman who, I think all of us, we have this kind of sin line. I talk about it in the book. It's like, like everything is fine beyond this line. But it's like when you cross this line that you draw for yourself, it's like, who are you? Like, how do you wrap your mind around that? And so it was very, very, very difficult decision for me when I decided to have an abortion in 2008. And I literally got on the plane the very next day to go to Beijing to compete. And I say in the book that I literally feel like I left a piece of myself on that table.
Yeah.
Because it was by far the hardest decision I had made up to that point in my life.
Yeah.
I had always felt like life was very black and white. And then here I was in this area of gray that I just didn't know which way to go. And so, I decided to have an abortion. And the night before the final, I had one, and the doctors had said I shouldn't be running, I shouldn't be doing any of those things. I mean, for 14 days,
you can't do not no intense exercise and activity for 2 weeks, and you're about to go run the race of your life. Yeah, and I didn't. My coaches didn't know. My dad didn't know. No one knew. So here I am, still training at the same level with no support in that way. The weight.
Yeah, the weight of it all.
The weight.
And so I won the prelims, won the semifinal, but the night before the final, I was in turmoil. Yeah. I mean, my soul was just ravished, and I couldn't sleep, and I just felt like I wasn't deserving of that moment. It just felt like I had made this horrible choice, a couple of days prior. Yeah. And now here I was asking God to give me the blessing of a lifetime. And I say in the book too that Christina Ruga, who won the Olympics, ran a great race, and she deserved that gold medal that day. But I felt like I kind of gave it away. I felt like I just didn't go out there as strong and as confident as I usually did. And it took me a long time to say I won the bronze because I felt like for so long that I lost the gold. Yeah. And it was a really, really difficult time in my life, know.
But how could you? Because I literally, when I was reading the book and doing the research on you to get here, I said, you were so young.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I was reading that, like, man, the amount of pressure that this young girl was feeling. Yeah. And then to have all the spectators, all the people with an opinion, all the things that, were coming at you. I mean, I couldn't have imagined that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
At the time, I think I was 21, if I'm doing the math right, or 19. No, it's 19.
Yeah, 19.
And yeah, so it was overwhelming. But at the same time, I want to give whoever's listening or watching hope, because at my lowest point, God found me. God found me. I talk about it. I was in China. So after the race, traditionally, you go back to the village, which is where all the athletes are, and you celebrate and all these things. And so I decided I wasn't ready to go back to the village and to get all the questions of what happened. So I said I wanted to go be with my family, because I'm very fortunate that my family would always make these trips with me. So my mom, my dad, my sister, my cousins, I had like 40 people in the stands.
They said it when I rewatched the race. They said she's got like 20 people here.
Yeah.
Everybody came to see her,
And I remember they said it was the biggest upset of the Olympics. Like, it was the most unpredictable loss, So it was a lot. And I remember getting on a bus to try to find my family, because up to that point, I hadn't left the stadium and gone to their place. I had only left the village and gone to their place. So I wasn't sure where to go. I get on the bus. I end up in the wrong place. And I literally get off this bus. I am crying so hard I can't even see through my tears. I am physically lost. I feel emotionally lost, spiritually lost. And I'm kind of down on my knees crying. And I literally felt God wrap his arms around me in Beijing, China. And the love that I felt, the forgiveness that I felt, I literally say that, and it's a hard thing to grapple with, but going through to have that experience, even for whatever the cost was worth it. Because I think that a lot of us are experiencing God and Jesus through our grandparents and through our mothers and through our fathers. But it's a different experience when you experience God for yourself.
To know him for yourself.
To know him for yourself. And that was a moment where I felt like I truly got to experience the depth of God's love for myself. And he said to me that I was forgiven. And I realized that God is not like we are. He doesn't punish us for our poor choices. Like he wasn't happy when I went out there and didn't run my best race. He still wants us to run our best races, even when we've done things that we know fall outside of his will for us. Yeah. And so it was really a beautiful moment. I remember going home and my mom and I being in full tears when I expressed to her, because she knew what was going on with me and she was just so happy for me. And then I got to step back on the track and have one of my best races of my career.
I mean, a few days later. Let me just say this. For all y'all, go take a gander down YouTube University and go see the redemption of that that relay.
Yeah, 4x4
relay. The 4x4 relay. Yeah. And when I tell you, I was rewatching like it was my first time. Because I was sitting up here like, baby, when you hit that home stretch. Yes. I said, honey, God carried you.
God carried
you on that last stretch because, baby, you fought for that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was so worth it. Yes. It was so worth it. Yeah. Because to hear your story and then to see it in action, you're like, wow.
Yeah. That race to me is a picture of God's love. Yeah. You know, it was my first time ever, because usually when I'm anchoring for Team USA, we get the baton in front. Yeah. You know, we've in the past been so dominant that we're able to do that. But for the first time in my, Olympic career and experiences, I got to stick behind. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, I refuse to lose. Yeah. I refuse to lose.
You were meters behind.
Yeah, we were behind. Yeah. And Russia had a strong team. Yeah. And their anchor leg was strong. Yeah. And so, I dug deep and I gave it everything I had. And it was just such a beautiful opportunity for me to overhaul the Russian in the last few meters and to win gold. And, the book is titled literally off of that race. Chasing Grace. It was this idea of always chasing records, chasing medals, chasing, times, all this thing. And ultimately on chasing, I'm so grateful I ran into God's grace. Yeah. And that was a picture of that moment when he, allowed me to experience victory when I felt like I was so defeated.
I mean, it was so beautiful to read it because then, you said that most people don't get an opportunity to go get a second chance at the Olympics.
Yeah, much less a third.
And much less a third. Yeah. And you go to London in 2012 and you shut it down.
Yes, yes. So, we talked about this kind of before we started with my training regimen, right? So most people know me for doing 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 crunches throughout my career. But before 2012, Brandy, I was doing 2,000 sit-ups and crunches.
Go home.
Every day. I was training with the boys, okay?
Don't do this to the people. They can't do 5. And you sitting up here talking about I was doing 2,000.
I was doing 2,000. I was so committed to getting this medal that I felt like since I was a child was my lifelong dream. Yeah. And so to go to London after once again having an undefeated season, an incredible season, and to stand on that line, and I think the part of this, that most people will never get to experience, but I think you experience in different ways is, I'm back on this start line where I experienced extreme failure 4 years prior. Yeah. In my mind. Most people won't think of bronze as extreme failure, but for me it was. It was like gold or bust. Yeah. And, you think of all the doubts, everything that came into my mind when I was there, and I was like, not today. Not today. I have done everything. I am prepared. I am a champion. And so I felt like I ran into my fairy tale ending when I finally crossed that finish line first in the women's 400 and became only the second American to ever do it and the first in a non-boycotted Olympics. And so it just meant everything. And it taught me that I can really do anything I put my mind to. Yeah. If I trust God and I trust the process, I can achieve the kinds of radical success that I see for myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How hard was it to walk away from the sport? Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. I actually prepared myself for retirement for probably about 1.5 years, 2 years. because I had seen many of my peers really struggle with, what's next. Because when you think about it, you know, we literally, for the better half of our lives, are dedicated to sport.
Yeah.
And unlike other professions that, you know, you can do up into your 60s or 70s, like when you're an athlete, it's over at 30, if you're lucky. And so it can be very, very demoralizing. And I saw a lot of my peers experience that, where they just couldn't figure out what was next. And I remember praying, you know, for the whole season. And I thank God for this gift of track and field and of running and of speed that had allowed me to see the world and allowed me to live my dream. And I told God, I know every good thing doesn't last a lifetime, and it's time for me to offer this gift back to you. But I asked God to leave with me everything that I had learned, to leave with me the confidence, to leave with me that spirit of dreaming big, and to leave with me all of those other things. And I started to see myself as more than just a track and field athlete. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that most people only see themselves as that track star, the football player, the basketball player, when the reality is, I believe that greatness isn't fleeting. It lives within us. So if we're able to achieve it in one area, you just got to tap back into that greatness within, and you can do it in something else. But it wasn't easy. You know, it wasn't easy. It was really hard because I loved it so much. And so it took a lot of intentional preparation to walk away from the sport, and I think it served me well.
Yeah, a lot of intention. So take me into when you were transitioning out of a sport, because you write in the book that a toe injury was also the thing. The ultimate thing that really kind of said, this is really my exit.
Yeah.
Was there something that you had in your mind? Because most people, most athletes, they are looking to become sports analysts or correspondents and commentators. And so was that in your mind, or did that kind of just fall in your lap?
A little bit of both. So the toe injury is the reason I started to prepare myself for retirement. I had my third surgery right before 2016. I thought, you know what, this is it. Like there is also a quality of life that I also have to prioritize. And, you know, like chasing these medals, and, you know, my foot just was like literally not having it anymore. So I knew 2016 was going to be my last year for that reason. And in that intentional preparation, I started to say, what are the things that I want to do? Like, what am I going to do next? And I'll never forget Lewis Johnson, who is now one of my colleagues who works for NBC. As I was finishing up my final run on the track, and also that was a very special moment for me too. I was in Eugene, Oregon. It's, you know, we call that kind of the, you know, our track mecca. That's the home of track and field. And it was the first time I had ever not finished a 400. I stopped at 200 because I had hurt my hamstring and I couldn't finish, and I was kind of hanging my head down in disappointment. And the entire stadium stood to their feet and gave me a standing ovation. And it just brought me back to the moment. And I just really looked around and thought, man, like, they appreciate me and I appreciate them, and I appreciate the sport so much. And it was really good energy that I was feeling in the midst of disappointment. And I remember Lewis Johnson comes up to me and he says, what will you do next? And I said, well, I'm going to start my family. I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to start commentating. And just like that, I always say the power of the tongue, you know, like the NBC producers and executives heard me say it, and literally, Brandy, called me the next day.
Wow.
And they were like, were you serious about commentating? Because we would love to have you in the booth. And I was like, well, I need a day to recover from not making the Olympic team. And 2 days later, I was in the booth, and I actually went to Rio. I went to the Olympic Games, only this time not as an athlete, as a commentator. So it was really special. And I really love that job because it gives me an opportunity to contribute to my sport in a different way, and to share the stories of the athletes, and give really dope insight for people who are new to the sport. So I love commentating, and I'm grateful that I was prepared. And I said something, you know, because it allowed for them to reach out to me immediately.
I really want to talk about, you know, the mindset of the athlete, because when you say that most people have a hard time, you know, reinventing or reimagining what life can look like, you know, you are married to an elite athlete.
2-time Super Bowl champ, baby.
2-time Super Bowl champ. It is a lot of competitive nature in that house, okay? Yes. And so, you know, part of what, you know, I've watched in your journey and in you and Ross being married to one another is that there was such a level of understanding.
Yeah.
And so do you think that played very well into how you were able to transition and your psyche of making these new moves in your life, because you had somebody who had that level of understanding?
100%.
Yeah.
I saw the other day someone says that who you marry will be the most important decision you ever make in your life. And I agree with that. because, my husband is just such an incredible man.
Yeah.
Like, he truly is.
Yeah.
And not just in the ways that people on the outside see. Obviously he achieved greatness on the field, but he is just a good human being. He is just a great man. And I'm just so blessed to have him. And he actually retired the year before me, which also helped me to feel like I was ready to do it as well.
Yeah.
Because he has this energy, and my mom's here, so I know she'll agree, where he just has this flow about him where, he takes everything in stride, and he's able to, like football was a big part of his life, but when it was gone, I think that he too was able to see it for what it was. And I think that really helped me as well when I transitioned. So 100%, and I even say when I was competing too, like him understanding me doing 1,000 sit-ups every day and getting to bed early and eating well. Like, most people don't understand how those details really matter.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes if you don't have a partner who supports you, like, you too may say, okay, maybe I don't have to do that much. So he's helped me in every aspect of my life, whether we were competing together or not, but he's just been just my rock.
So basically, you're saying that you got to be aligned in purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you all have been aligned in purpose every step of the way.
Yeah.
He's made you a better person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's a wonderful human being. And even when he was going through his transition of being out of football, and, I won't glaze over that too, it was really tough on him.
Yeah.
He went into depression for a couple years after football, but then he went on this journey about discovery and discovering who he was and who he is as a Black man, and what does it mean to be a great husband and to be a great father and all of those things. And that also really pulled me too, because, I hope we get a chance to talk about it further in the interview, but it's there comes a point in life where certain things no longer serve us. And a lot of us don't realize it until it's too late.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think in my life, I've always had this drive towards excellence that has served me well in sports. But as I've transitioned into being a mother and being a wife, I realized that doesn't always serve me in who I am today. And, even if when we talk about reality TV and all the things that I've done, it's like, wow, like sometimes I feel like I'm tapping too much into that athlete part of who I was.
Yeah. How so? Yeah.
Because I think with, doing the show, like when the show came into my life,
You're talking about the Housewives.
reality, yes, Housewives, yep.
Okay.
I'm the yes to life. Let's do it. Even though it's like, does it fit? Like, all of these questions. But as an athlete and the Sanya that won the gold medal, and I just always said yes. It's like you do it, you go, you keep going, and then. And so for me, I feel like at that time in my, and now that I'm outside of reality TV again and kind of looking at the big picture of my life, it's like, I realize that sometimes that doesn't serve me anymore. It's okay sometimes to let things come to me. I don't have to like go so hard and, do everything, because when I serve my family, when I serve my husband and my children, I'm my happiest.
Yeah.
And the blessings just come. They're just added, So I think that he has helped me to see that as well.
Yeah.
Prioritizing
your family, because when you read the book, when you watch, when you see different things on your social media, your family is very much the priority.
100%.
And that people really understand your story.
Yeah.
And your mother and your father and your sister, and like really how you guys have really been that support system locked in.
Yeah.
1,000%. They would understand. There's the method behind what they see as madness.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
There's a real method behind it. And so I want you to talk about serving your husband, you talk about serving your children and your family. How have you had to really step back and prioritize?
Yeah.
Because it gets different when other people become glaring eyes onto your life.
Yeah. For me, there's never been a question about it. And I come from such a strong family. Like, I can go back to my grandmother, my mom's mom, and was married to the same man until he died. And
Sanya, they don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That is a rare thing.
Yeah, till death do us part, literally, right? And it was always about family. Like, my grandmother had 6 kids, and I've always seen her just love on them and support them. And then my mom, who did the same thing. There are 2 of us, and people would think we were only children because of the kind of love and individual love and support my sister and I both got from my parents. And so it was always modeled for me.
Yeah.
It was always modeled for me to put family first. Have I always gotten it right? Have I always been perfect? No. But I always fall back on who I am and what I've seen around me. And so I love doing life with my family. You know, like my mom and dad have committed so much to me. It is a joy for me to be with them and to continue to work with them and to just to be in community with them. And I want to set that same example for my family.
Yeah.
You know, like as I look at my son now, my son Ducey, he sees everything. He observes everything. He will repeat everything.
Yeah.
And it makes me realize that what we're doing matters.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer okay to just like go with the wind. It's like you gotta set your sail and you gotta know where you're going because it matters to your family. And so I can't say enough about how important family is, and the more I focus on them and lean into them is just the happier I am and the better my life is, and the richer the opportunities that come to me are. They're more in alignment with who I am. And so, I thank my parents for doing that and setting that foundation for me.
So you're no longer on the Housewives of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. What was the biggest lesson that reality television has taught you? There's so many.
There's so many, Brandy. How much time we got left? No, so I'll say this. I actually overall really enjoyed my time on the Housewives. You know, it actually was a really great experience, fun experience, especially being with the women. What made reality TV difficult for me and made specifically Housewives was when it was given to the public. And, you know, I think a lot of times the way that the show was put together and how they would dissect situations didn't always speak to who I am or the reality of the circumstances or the situation. And that was hard for me. So I think the lesson I learned from that and has really been great for me is truly letting go of what people think of me or think of situations and just holding really 100% true to who I am.
Yeah.
And I love that for myself. I love that being able to say, it doesn't matter what, you know, and I even as an athlete, I learned that too. The noise in the market doesn't matter, right? Like you got to stay squarely focused on who you are and what your goals are. And so it reinforced that for me. It also, you know, there's so many things, but ultimately I feel like the experience made me a better person. And I feel like this, once again, will be another opportunity and another stepping stone, just like the Olympics have been, where I get to grow and I get to be better and I get to do new things. So yeah, ultimately I would say it taught me to be stronger, to be more confident in who I am. I would say one of the things that I struggle with on the show and is that I was kind of always like producing myself in my head.
Okay.
You know, like I was always trying and I feel like I wasn't able to just kind of be in it. You know, I never really showed up always 100% authentically in who I was. And I don't think that the environment was a space that would cultivate that kind of opportunity for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I go onto a show where the women are very well known and they're, you know, it's already so established and it's like I'm trying to find my footing. I ultimately was really trying to build friendships, relationships. And so, you know, that was a challenge. So my only regret, the only thing I wish I'd have done differently was just truly showing up as myself in every occasion, no matter who or what people thought, was just being true to my inner voice and who I was, as opposed to trying to like figure out, okay, how am I making it? Is this going to still make this friendship work? Because I really wanted to try to be everyone's friend. And, you know, like I really wanted to come in and be a peacemaker. I wanted to show family. I wanted to show love. And it wasn't really conducive for that. Yeah. You know, and so I ended up kind of just like getting lost in the sauce. And I really hate that, that part of the experience. But it is what it is. And it's made me better. It's made me stronger. It makes me know exactly who and what I want to be and how I want to show up in the world. And that matters to me.
So who do you want to be in this season? And how do you want to show up in the world?
Oh, it's a great question. In this season of my life, I want for people to know how important my family is to me. Yeah. I want that to never be a question, that it's family first. I want people to see the God in me. I want that to shine bright, that I believe that every blessing in my life comes from him. And, you know, like I'm a person that has a lot of gratitude towards being able to do all the things that I get to do. And I want to show up authentically as the woman who my mom and dad have poured into for so long, to make me confident and strong and bold. And I want to take all of the skills that I've learned from track, from reality TV, all of those things, and I want to build businesses that change the world. You know, businesses that open up doors for other Black women and for young girls. I want to help Black moms. I want to use all of that, all of who I am, to help other people. And I think those are the things that that move me, that get me out of bed, that make me happy, and I want to stay true to that.
That move you, they get you out of bed. Mm-hmm. Is there something that you want to do that you haven't done?
Not really.
She looked at her mom.
I know.
She looked at her mom and she was like, "Is it something? Is it something that you want to do that you haven't done?"
The only thing that, because like I have a lot of big visions for my life still. I feel like I'm just getting started. You know? I'm not 40. I'm 39, and I'm 30. No, 39, not 40. 39.
Listen, they done already told me I was 42 on the internet. So, and I said, well, I'm not 42 yet.
Yes.
I'm like, dang, you know.
Everybody keeps saying at 40. No, at 39. I'm 40 next year. Anyway, so no, there's still a lot of things. Like I definitely, like I feel like I still want to maybe go into acting. Like I feel like that's something I could be good at. Like with our social skits, I love it. I love being creative. I love being creative. I wish if in the perfect world, so there are two things I'd want to do. All of a sudden now I'm like, oh, here are all the things. Okay.
Do I have one? Yes, I do.
I have 10. So my dream job is to like, be like a host on like Good Morning America or The View or something like that. That's like my dream job, right? That's I would love to also like be a creative director for something, because I feel like if I had a budget, baby, if I had like a brand, I could like take it to the next level. Yeah. And I do want to do some acting, because I'm good at learning scripts. My memory's really good, so I think I could really do acting well too. So maybe those are three things that I would want to do. Of course, the Good Morning America job kind of down the road, or like hosting The View or something like that. So yeah, those are my dreams that I have now.
Does Ross go willingly into this, or is he just like, whatever she want to do, she gonna do it? Listen,
a little bit of both.
I see some reluctancy in some of the skits. It's kind of like,
here she go again.
Oh, shit, we doing a skit today.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
My husband is, yes, a little bit of both. There are days where he's like, yes, baby, whatever. I see the vision. And other days she's like, Lord, help me. Can you do this one on your own today? But overall, we have the same vision for our family and for our lives. Yeah. And so, we talk about how we want to get there. And, right now, obviously doing the content and influencing has been a big part of, our brand and, how we make money and all that stuff. So he's sold on it and bought into it. I just have to, some of the stuff I show him, he's like, I don't care how much you think you put to make off of this. I am not dancing, singing. None of those things happening. Yeah. I'm like, but no. Okay, so you gotta know your personnel. Yeah. And I know mine. But no, most of the times he goes willingly, and sometimes he leads. He has ideas too, and I love when he's like in his creative bag too. I'm like, okay, and I support him and do his stuff. But that's kind of my area. But yeah.
Yeah. You guys have really based this relationship, and really solidified it with communication.
Yes.
And you have had to have many tough conversations because 2008 was definitely a dilemma and a trial in the relationship. Mm-hmm. And then in you all starting the family, came with its own set of trials and tribulations, even most recently with the birth of your second child. Yeah. And so you have Mommy Nation. And so how is motherhood kind of shaping your womanhood right now?
That's another great question.
I kind of got some in the bag, so you know what I'm saying?
You killing us, sis.
You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
But motherhood has definitely shaped my womanhood in very profound ways. Yeah. I think that God knew what he was doing when he made me a boy mom, because I thought I wanted a little girl for the second one, and I'm so grateful for my boy. And but it has taught me, especially, I think it's made me a better wife. Because when I look at my son and just how much I love him and how much I want him to be loved and protected, I realize that my husband is somebody's son too. Yeah. And he deserves that unconditional kind of love and that patient love that I hope my boys will also get from, the world and from women or, whatever. But so it's definitely done that. It's also helped me to set my priorities straight. Yeah. Because, you see a lot of things on the internet. And I remember seeing this woman, being very strong in this opinion of I'll never have kids. I'm this, I'm in the selfish stage of my life. And I'm like, I pray that one day she gets to experience the love of being a mother, because there is nothing like it. There is nothing like it. And especially the second time around, I think I'm enjoying my motherhood experience even more, because I am in a space of my life where I'm just so grateful. Yeah. And with my first son, I felt like I was kind of checking a box, right? It was like, okay, like that's like I tell you, that mentality that doesn't always serve us. It's like, I'm mom, I'm this, and I'm doing all the things. And he was a tough baby. He didn't sleep through the night. I nursed him for 2.5 years. So it was a lot. And so I felt like motherhood was a little bit trying in my first season of motherhood. But in this one, when I tell you this baby can do no wrong, I just know every phase is going to go by so quickly. Like, even if he stays up, it's like, it's fine. Like, tomorrow will be better. If the nursing, everything just feels different.
Yeah.
Because of, of my appreciation for it. And I think that when we can change our focus and our lens on the experiences in our lives, they can be sweeter. You just have to choose to see it that way.
You have to choose to see it that way.
Yeah.
What if you had to shift your focus on and see things differently, whether it's your career, your marriage, your family?
Yeah. I've had to shift my mindset on all those things, because I feel like I said, I felt like there was a point in my life where I was just checking boxes, where I was like, okay, wife, mother now, this, that. And when I was doing that, I was putting so much on my plate that I was still feeling extremely overwhelmed by everything that I was doing. And so in the last couple of years, I feel like I have been able to shift my mindset as to, you know what, I'm very clear on my priorities. I know that God first, family, and then everything else is below that. And when I've done that, I feel like I'm no longer having to chase these opportunities. I'm not having to kick down doors. I literally am in my house washing dishes, and ding, an opportunity comes. And, it's like I'm doing what I feel like God calls me to do as a woman, and he's just like, I got everything else.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to be. It's a more peaceful and restful place to be.
I bet.
Than feeling like you got to be out in the world, like showing people that you can do this and doing that and doing that. I think that can be very challenging and overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. I can only imagine what it's like to have worked. You've been working for 30 years.
Yeah.
Essentially. You've been working for 30 years. And you've had to reimagine what life looks like. You had to reinvent yourself along the way. Do you feel any type of pressure? I know you said I'm in this flow state and things are just coming, but do you feel a little twinge of pressure for what's next?
I guess there's always a little bit where you feel like, I feel very comfortable and happy in the things that I have, the things that I'm, like I love working with NBC. I love working with Nike and all the other things that I'm doing, but I'll never be complacent. It's just not who I am. Like I have a fire in my belly that I will never go out. It's just the way I approach it.
Yeah.
So I'm still very much tackling all the things, like I just recently, I'm so proud of my husband and I launched our company Coordinates, and we're doing this partnership with Team USA, which is a big dream come true. I mean, they've never had an athlete be a licensee holder of the Team USA property. So this is a big responsibility.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, we're the official pajama partner for Team USA going into the Olympics and for 24, 26, and 28. So I'm always working on something.
Yeah.
I'm Jamaican.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have 7 jobs. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna be at 7 jobs and be at flow.
Yeah.
So I'm always, the idea of being at flow and being at peace does not mean I'm complacent. It's just how I approach things. It's me learning to say no to some things and being okay with that. It's okay. I'm okay missing out on this opportunity because I think the next one is gonna come, is gonna be better. And there was a time where I felt like I had to take everything and do everything. It's like I can't miss anything because God's giving me all this stuff, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
So it's okay sometimes to say no.
Yeah.
And to be at peace with that too. So no, I'm always working, and I'm always looking for the next great opportunity that fits in with my priorities. And yeah.
So family's at the top of your priorities. Your husband, your sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your sister was living with you at one point.
And my mama and my daddy.
Your mom and your
the
dad.
kids and everybody.
Yeah. That's a busy house.
It was a busy house.
Yeah. How do you make time for yourself? With family at the top, your husband, all the things that are pulling, new baby. Yeah. How do you make time for yourself? Because I heard a lot of yeses mixed in with I know how to say no, right?
Just learning how to say no.
I still heard a whole lot of yeses in there.
Still a lot of yeses.
Yeah.
That's an area I could do better at, Brandy. It's an area I could do better. Because for me, I will say, I find time for myself when I'm working, but it's like, well, you're still working. And so my self-care could be better. I do soak and take long baths. I get massages. I go shopping. But it's not, I'm intentional about a lot of things, but I'm not as intentional about self-care as I think I should be. It's not balanced.
She keeps cutting to her mother. I just want y'all to know that.
It ain't balanced.
She cuts to her mother because she's like, do I?
Right.
Listen.
I'd be like, let me think. I have a bad memory too, so that's with life stuff. I'm good at reading the script, but anyway. But yeah, so no, I feel like I could do better at my self-care regimen. I do try to squeak that stuff in, but you know, I'm a new mom again, and that comes with a lot of demands. And I'm happy to give myself to my kids right now, and my husband's a priority, and work. So yeah, so I don't make enough time for myself.
Yeah,
and I'm committed to starting to do that real soon.
Yeah, you've got to do that because I think that you wear so many hats.
Yeah.
You know, and like as soon as you take off one hat and put one hat up in the closet, you put another hat on.
I do.
And so I think it's so important for you to take that time for yourself.
What do you do? Do you have a healthy self-care
listen, you know
regimen?
what? I have a very, because you know, I'm like the lady you was talking about, the selfish lady. So I am the lady you was talking about. You was talking about me.
So okay? you intentionally never wanted to?
No, I'm not intentional about like not. Look, I tell people now all the time. Now, if I get pregnant I'm doing the Lord's work. I keep telling y'all. I be sitting up here telling. I don't make no. If you see me pregnant, it's like she's doing the work of the Lord. She's doing the work of the Lord. She's carrying. Yeah. This is the work of the Lord. Okay, so I want you to say that when if you see me pregnant. I have a twin sister, and so I feel like, you know, when she got married, I was such a big part of her wedding and all of those things, and I love my brother-in-law. Like, he is literally like the best. Yeah. You know, I love him from the beginning. I've loved him, and then I have my nephew. You know, and I am like the best auntie in the world. You know, and I'm open. You know, but I am a woman of a certain age. Yeah. And so, you know, I also recognize that I am as much as I'm not on the clock, there is a little clock. You know what I'm saying? There's a little small clock. And so I'm open to what God has for me. For sure. I want marriage. You know, I would love to
that's a different thing than what I was saying. Like, I think being open to it is different than this woman saying, I'm in my selfish era. I don't want to have kids. I'm like, I don't be closed off to those blessings,
my ovaries get to jumping, girl. I be seeing little babies. I be like, ooh. And then I be
Give me
like,
one of those.
look at you. You know, I am one of those. I'm like a low-key baby whisperer, you know, so kids love me. You know, I love children. You know, so if it happens for me, I'm totally open to it. Of course. Like, I'm not closed off. Like, I am in a season, and, you know, just very much like yours, you know, of that flow state. Yeah. You know, I'm not forcing anything. Yeah. You know, and I know that everything that God has for me is already here. Yep. You know, it's already open to me. It's already, I probably just walk right past it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's how close it is. Yeah. You know, so I'm not closed off to it. Yeah. I'm just like, I just ain't found that person that I just want to go make a superhuman with. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when I do it, it's not something, you know what I'm saying? It got to be a super, it's going to be a superhuman. Yeah. Like, you know, and so I know that. And so I'm open to it, you know. And look, I be looking at all these older mom pages and he's like, don't count it out over 40, you know. And they be like, you know.
I mean, I 100% think that with the way that things are nowadays, I feel like 40 is a new 30, you know. Like, people, it's just about being healthy, eating healthy, making sure you're moving and stuff. And yeah, I mean, if God has it for you, it's going to be a beautiful thing. Yeah. I mean, you know, I had my son now at 39, and it was definitely a different experience when I was 35, but it was I had a beautiful pregnancy. Yeah. You know, delivery was a little bit tough when he got it cut. I had to have a C-section again this time, so that's the only part that was tricky. But outside of that, it was an easy, fun, beautiful journey. And so, you know, if God has it for you, I know you're going to crush it.
I feel like that, you know, and so that's why I say I'm totally open to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I believe that, you know, in this season, I've had my selfish seasons. Yeah. You know, but I really believe I'm in my nurturing season. You know, I really believe I'm nurturing. I'm nurturing gifts. I'm nurturing ideas. I'm nurturing dreams. Yeah. I'm nurturing people, you know. And my capacity to love is so big. It's so big, Like, it's so big right now. So it's like, I think my hands are just doing this, like, every single day. Yeah. And so I think I walk out of my house every day just ready to receive all that is for me.
I love that.
And so because I know I'm putting out good stuff in the world, you know? So it's going to happen. And, you know, when I need a babysitter, I'm going to just come drop them on off over there.
Bring him over. They said once you go from 1 to 2, after that, it's like you lose count. So you can just, they'll be somewhere around the house.
Mom going to make sure, I already know the recipes is in the book.
Yes,
she got beet juices
yes.
and all the things.
The
I'm going to get juices.
Yep.
I'm going to get fresh food.
Yep.
Listen, so I know I'm going to be straight. So I'm just come on over to your house. Listen, and I know it's room because it's already 30 of y'all over there.
No, not anymore. Let's make sure the record is straight. They not know the house
Everybody
is just...
moved out.
Everybody moved out.
Everybody moved out. They left you a couple months ago, right?
Yes, which actually was not prime because I got the baby, so it would have been nice if we still had all hands on deck. But no, it's just the 4 of us now in the house, and yeah, it's beautiful. But they're only 7 minutes away, so it's good.
Wow, that is
7
awesome.
minutes. You like how I calculated that? Like door to door.
Because I love this because I think with so many people suffering in this culture from a connection crisis.
Yeah.
Because so many people are lonely.
Yes.
So many people don't have people that they can call on.
Yeah.
They don't have people who support them. They don't have people who show up for them, who they can leave their children with. They feel safe enough to leave their children with. You know, I think that it's a beautiful thing that you have this old school mentality about family.
Yeah, it is. Can't nobody tell me different. It is the biggest blessing. Even when I was in college, I would say, you know, and when you talk about the different levels of becoming an elite athlete, you know, your high school, college, and into the pros, the differentiator from the college kids I went to school with was the support, period. It was the athletes. So like my mom and dad were there for me every step of the way. And there were athletes who were equally as talented, or maybe close. Maybe not equally.
They weren't doing it like you, but go ahead.
But you know, it was a support, and so I know that no one can tell me differently. When you have a great support system and people around you who can hold you accountable, who keep you humble, because you can have support and not the right support. Yeah, you can have people who are yes men, who are just around you, whatever you say goes, and we see those people kind of self-destruct over time. You need people who keep you grounded, you know, who are not afraid to tell you the tough things, who are not afraid to say, son, I know that, but no, it's not right for you. Nope, that's not gonna work, you know, and that's what I have in my parents and I have in my family.
Your mother, I mean, prime example, before we start to close this out, your mother in the book, there was somebody they were very prominent, they're working with these great athletes, and your mother met them and was like, I don't think
right for you.
That they're right for you.
Yeah.
And then it comes out that they were a part of the doping case.
Yes.
For Marion.
Yep. Yeah, my mom has always had that great instinct, my mom and dad, and they were always so in tune. You know, like my dad, when I tell you my dad could tell you front, backwards, upside down, the record books, everything about track and field. Yeah. So, and I think that also made it hard for people to approach me. Like no one ever, I don't think they would dare approach me with steroids because they know, Popaachi? Ain't having it, okay? And then this coach who once on the plane was talking to me about potentially coming to train with him, and
you were like,
I was excited.
This is the one.
I mean, he coached Marion Jones.
Your idol.
We all knew, yeah. And so, you know, my mom was like, you know, I don't feel like that's the right move for you, and thank God I didn't. You know, not to say I would have necessarily been caught up in that, but it's just the association. Yeah. You know, so. I do thank my mom and my dad because she always trusted her gut when I didn't have the strength or courage to trust my gut yet. I didn't know what that was. You know, I was still so young. I don't, you know, I feel like that's something you learn as you really get steadfast in your womanhood. You know what that instinct is. She's always had that since I can remember. So yeah, I'm grateful that she would always speak up for me and be there in my corner. Yeah.
One biggest lesson your mother's taught you.
My mom has taught me a lot. I would say probably to me, my mom's lessons haven't necessarily always come by her actions. I mean, by her words, it's come by her actions. And I think the greatest gift that she has given me is she taught me how to be a wife and a mother. You know, like she is, her and my dad have such a beautiful marriage. They've been together for 40 years. And she loves him today the same way that she did when she met him. She still cooks dinner, 3 meals for him a day. You know, she still loves on him like I think he deserves to be loved. And she loved on my sister and I in a way that have made us both, I think, really two great human beings. So I think the example she set for me as a mother and a wife is the gift that I always take from her. And then on the side, she's always kind of been a pageant mom too. So she's like, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, so make sure you look nice. All right? I know inside nice, but make sure outside look nice too. All right.
I love that. As we close out, one word you're committed to in this season of your life.
One word I'm committed to this season of my life. I think I've said a couple of times today, it's gratitude. It's gratitude. It's not, I feel like through my life, I've experienced so many great things, and sometimes I am speeding through it so quickly that I don't get a chance to sit in it, to sit in the gratitude of it all. So I think for this season of my life, it's about truly being grateful, accepting the yeses and the nos with the same level of gratitude and appreciation that I would if it were a big yes. And yeah, just sitting in gratitude.
Yeah. What are you most grateful for right now?
Family. For my husband, I'm most grateful for my husband. I went through a really rough season of just growth the last 2 years, and he has been so patient with me while modeling what it takes to really make that transition from athlete to the next stage of my life. And so I would say I'm really most grateful for my husband.
Most grateful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sanya Richards-Ross, it has been my pleasure to talk with you today. You know, I told you before we started, I told you at the beginning, I wanted people to see that you are a true history maker. Oh, thank you. You literally, there are a handful of people that can say they've broken some world records. Yeah. And so to sit with you, to see how accomplished you are, but how poised, how amazing of a woman you have become and evolved into because of your family, because of your mother, because of your support system. It's been a great conversation today. Thank you so much for joining me. This was another great one, Vault Empowers Talks. I'm so glad you joined me. Be sure to share this with somebody. Be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, and send this to somebody who is a mother, who is a wife, who needs a little more gratitude in their life. Until next time, I'm your host, Brandy Harvey. Eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.